On this episode of Big Boys Don't Cry, we discuss the film Holidate. You don't have to have seen the film to enjoy the podcast, but if you do listen without having seen it, just be aware that we may discuss details of the plot and there may be spoilers. Enjoy.
Holidays are coming, holidays are coming, holidays are coming, holidays are coming, holidays are coming. 'Tis the season, watch out, look around.
Holidate is coming, Holidate is coming.
Hello.
I was up all night thinking of that one.
Oh, it's Paddy Johnston.
Hey, I like that. I make that my theme tune.
I think you should. You definitely should. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. You know, a little bit late because I was dealing with an infestation of fruit flies. Fucking hate those
Infestation of
bastards.
fruit flies.
Yeah. Little flies, you know, you go in the kitchens and there's a little fly. Get it. Come back 5 minutes later, there's another one. You never see more than one or two at a time, but you know they're there.
They're just hiding out of view.
Waiting to pounce on your bananas.
You know what you should get to get rid of those fruit flies?
What?
A fruit bat.
A fruit bat! Oh my god, I've always wanted a fruit bat.
Yeah. And then to get rid of the fruit bat, the fruit dragon.
Yeah, and then to get rid of the fruit dragon, the clangers.
Exactly.
Oh, that was the thing in the clangers, right? The fruit dragon.
Everyone loves a fruit dragon.
Yeah, remember the clangers? Remember things, you know, old TV shows you used to watch because there was nothing else on, even stuff that was way before your time.
Yeah, Trapdoor, I remember watching a lot.
What the hell is Trapdoor?
Trapdoor, the Trapdoor. It's a little claymation show about this blue guy who lives in a little monster place, but then in the
blue man who lives in a blue house.
With a blue little window. Yeah, it's these monsters that they live in like a castle or something, but then there's a trapdoor, and in the trapdoor there's even worse monsters that they're scared of.
Oh.
It's
so
good. It's
that's
strange.
A bit like fruit fly to the fruit bat to the fruit dragon.
Exactly.
It's a logical progression.
It had a very banging theme tune as well, if I remember correctly. But the theme tune or the intro to Trapdoor in the show notes, so people know what I'm talking about.
All right.
You know what I'm talking about. Other people. Paddy doesn't. Paddy was too busy watching the news when he was a child, I think.
Yeah, clearly. Ask me anything about Tony Blair or John Major or any of that. I can tell you loads of facts.
But no bullshit about television when we were children.
Talk to me about the Falklands. We were only one, but I knew what was going down.
You knew. Have you been watching The Crown?
We have, yeah.
Yes, is that why the Falklands?
So Claire's watching it. I'm sort of dipping in and out because I don't want to hold her up, and I'm always off doing other things like recording stupid podcasts. But yes, I am not a royalist at all. I think monarchy is bullshit. And I think our monarchy is particular bullshit, but it's really well written and it's good TV, and I find it enjoyable. And it's not just about the monarchy, is it? There's, you know, Gillian Anderson in there being Margaret Thatcher brilliantly, you know, which is quite enjoyable. That most of one episode focused on. Actually, have you seen it all?
No, we've watched up to her terrible son is lost in the desert and war's broken out in the Falklands.
Oh, so you've seen the one with the working class bloke who snuck into Buckingham Palace?
Yes, and
I found that one of the most compelling episodes of TV I've seen in recent years.
And also, I was very impressed to see that they allowed Andrew, resident of Non's Island, to talk about nubile 17-year-olds. I'm not sure that they should have really allowed that to happen, the royal family, but there we go. Definitely true to character.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's been complained about that a lot of the stuff is a complete fabrication, but that might be one of the few things that's actually true.
Yes, yeah. And what's interesting is that it's obviously made with making the royal family look at least vaguely like human beings in mind, which is obviously the biggest fabrication of all, as we all know that they are in fact lizard people.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
And we have to make sure that with the platform that we have now, we're getting that message across, because David Icke has been banned from most social media.
Yeah, so
it's
we've
important that we pick up that
we've got to
reptilian baton.
Carry the reptilian torch. But what's interesting for me, as someone who is definitely not a monarchist, is how unbelievably fucked up their entire system is. So that when the to-be daughter-in-law of the Queen appears, she has to curtsy in a specific way for her future family, which is unbelievably fucked up. And, you know, in the back of your mind, you are thinking, or you should be thinking, God, if people are being treated like this from the day they're born, that's really going to fuck with their psyche, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But obviously the whole point of the show isn't to dismantle the monarchy, but instead it's kind of a propaganda arm of the monarchy, because it talks about them in a positive way. They are the main characters. Yeah. And this
a lot of them aren't portrayed in the most flattering light, but it makes them into compelling characters, which people often mistake for being the same as a good character.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it makes them appear more human, but without them, you know, they're probably more human in the show than they are in real life.
Yeah.
I would wager. But I think it's interesting how they have taken this slightly more critical turn towards the royals in this season, because obviously it's the introduction of Diana, who is beloved by many.
The people's princess. I feel like still, if you're making something about Diana now, 23 years on from when she died, you still have to be very, very careful, don't you? Because people still love her so much.
Yes.
You're still going to end up on the front page of the Daily Express either way. But,
well, quite. But I think, you know, they had to be very careful about it, because the way that she was treated was appalling. But how do they show that without people immediately hating the people that treated her badly? And so that's interesting. That's interesting, I think. But yeah, our boy Andrew's on it, being a pest and being annoying. And I'm here for it. And I hope that they fully go into what he's been up to. I don't know if they go into the Falklands War, but I'd love to hear about how he stopped having the ability to sweat. I hope there's an entire episode about that in this series of The Crown.
They said they're doing 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, the end of the 6th season will bring it right up to the present day, and it'll show him getting on the plane to Non's Island.
Yeah, exactly. Not to be confused with Nun's Island, which is off Quebec.
No,
Nun's
that's
Island,
where all nuns have to go to become a nun.
Yeah, exactly. Fun fact for you: they filmed. That is where David Cronenberg filmed his first feature movie.
Really?
On Nun's Island, yeah.
Was it The Nun?
No, it is called Shivers. Basically, weird mutant slug things infest a apartment block, and silly things happen. It's very low budget, but interesting to see it as his sort of like starting point.
Very good.
But there is no mutant slugs or dodgy members of a royal family in this week's film.
Unfortunately not, no. There is an Australian guy, and there's, in The Crown, they go to Australia, don't they, for their first tour?
Yeah.
And they yell at each other next to Ayers Rock. So
that's a nice...
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Can I say something off the bat?
Oh, the date is coming. Oh, the date is coming. Rob's verdict is coming. Rob's verdict is coming. Yes, you can.
I did not like this film very much, Paddy.
You do surprise me.
I did not think it was very good.
But it had an Australian guy who was like, they couldn't get Liam Hemsworth, so they found this guy somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably from an advert in the back of a magazine.
No, that's not true. He's been in some stuff. He was in the Point Break remake that everybody hated.
Oh, good.
Yep, he was in that.
Well, I hadn't seen him in anything. Luke Bracey is his name.
Yep. So, have you seen the original Point Break?
No, it's John Cusack, right?
No, Patrick Swayze and Keanu
No, I'm thinking
Reeves.
of something else. I'm thinking of Gross Point Blank.
Ah, yes.
That's a completely different film.
But also a good film. Basically, there's a surfer gang who are also robbers, and Keanu Reeves has to go undercover in the gang, but then has a bromance with Patrick Swayze, and the whole thing is, oh, can I actually dob in this guy who's my bro? Or
why would you remake a film with Keanu Reeves in it?
and quite. And Australian man in this plays Keanu Reeves in the new version that everybody hated.
Good.
So he's got that going for him. He's also in G.I. Joe Retaliation, where he plays Cobra Commander.
A film of some plastic toys.
Yeah.
I assume he voices the best G.I. Joe doll.
Yeah, everyone
they
loves
punch
Cobra
each other
Commander.
up.
And he was in Home and Away.
COVID Commander.
Yeah, he was the COVID Commander. And he was in Home and Away, which you are more familiar
Well,
with.
that's a rule for Australian actors, isn't it?
It's got to be Neighbours or Home and Away, one or the other, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yes, I did not like his character very much. He grew on me a little bit over the course of the film, but I did not like him initially. And I think that's kind of a problem. It's hard to like any of the characters, really, isn't it? In Holidate.
Yeah. Nobody in this is likable, with the possible exception of the Black Panther.
That's true.
His friend, whose name I can't remember, but who shall forever be known as the Black
Neil.
Panther, because that's how they refer to him after the Halloween party.
His name is Neil.
I kissed the Black Panther.
And he is in some movies. He's in When We First Met.
Yeah.
He's in.
I recognised
He's
him.
in To All the Boys I Loved Before. As well.
Yes,
and
he is.
He's in The Babysitter, which is a very fun little horror comedy. All of them Netflix. This also Netflix. So it seems as though
Hold up, I'm on his Wikipedia page. Andrew Batchelor, better known as King Bark. Yes. Or would that be Batch? But it's spelled like Bark, like Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, King Bark.
Yeah, I love that. That is so good. He's allowed.
Yeah.
He gets a pass.
And he's Canadian.
Yeah.
So,
There's nothing wrong with this man at all. I cannot find any faults.
So, yeah, we're on board with this fella. So he's quite fun. He's the sleazy friend. And is fine in that role. I also liked the sassy aunt, I think was acceptable.
Yeah, now Kristen Chenoweth has been in some very good things, and I was actually kind of surprised to see her in this.
Yes.
She played one of the best characters on Glee. She's done loads of stage acting. Interestingly, initiated the role of Sally Brown in the musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Did you know that?
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, she has a really interesting long-standing association with Charles Schultz and Peanuts, so much so that, in fact, I've been reading through all my Peanuts books again, because I've got pretty much all of them. The hardback collections, and there's always like a written intro from some famous person, and she had written the intro to this one I was reading the other day.
Oh, very nice. She's also the voice of Vanessa Gecko in BoJack Horseman, which is
Yes,
awesome.
that's right.
So she's really good. She's also in The West Wing as well. And yeah, it's a surprise to see her in this. But also, you've also got Frances Fisher in this as well, who's very good. And you've got Emma Roberts as the other lead. And Emma Roberts is an interesting one because she's been in some very, very good things. And some...
Such as Valentine's Day and Hotel for Dogs.
Obviously part of a big cinema family, the most important of them being the hugely successful and beloved Eric Roberts. Not Julia Roberts, obviously. No one cares about Julia Roberts and all of her excellent movies. But Eric Roberts, you know him. He's the guy who's in stuff. But
that guy with the chin.
Yeah, that guy with the chin.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's got a very interesting career, Emma Roberts, so far. I mean, she's still very young. But she's been in some really great stuff. So, she's in American Horror Story and then Scream Queens. And she's been in movies like Nerve, which is quite interesting. The Blackcoat's Daughter as well is a very good horror movie. But then also, yeah, some some weird, not very good stuff as well, like Valentine's Day.
Which we still haven't talked about on this show.
No. And so it's interesting seeing her turn up in what is effectively, this is like it's a TV movie that's got ideas above its station, really. It's because the basic concept of this is, what if Friends with benefits but without the benefits, I guess, is the thing.
And attached to the various holidays as a backdrop, but that doesn't really add anything.
No, in fact, I think it's detrimental because it really messes up the pacing of the film. It seems incredibly disjointed because it is just, oh, here's a day, here's another day, here's another day. And so it feels really jarring when you jump from one to one. And I think something that could have very easily helped that was having maybe just even a little message between them, or maybe they meet up the day before and they talk through what their plans are for the day or something, where you could actually get to see them getting to know each other a bit more outside of the lavish spectacle of this big party that it just so happens everyone goes to who knows each other.
Yeah.
which is very odd, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm going to this party. Well, oh, good. My aunt's here and the entirety of my family.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But yeah, I think that would have helped a lot because, do you know what I mean? It's very disjointed. It feels very piecemeal.
And the holiday thing is supposed to be this kind of concept that hangs it all together, but realistically, you're thinking they try and maintain this lie that they don't speak to each other at all between holidays. And it's like as if you would go months without speaking to someone you're like vaguely friends with, or like vaguely have some romantic thing going on with, as if. And then suddenly it just cuts to the next one. It's like, really? You're not going to give us anything of the in-between? But somehow, even though it felt like there was loads of stuff missing from the story, it was still too long.
Yeah, this movie is nearly 2 hours long, and no rom-com needs to be 2 hours long, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let alone one that is as basic as this.
I mean, you'd let someone like Nora Ephron get away with that, right? Because she'd be able to give you some half hour of stuff that was really meaningful and tear-jerking in the best possible way. But with this kind of thing, it's just like, okay, they've just gotten into bed together and I've looked at the time and I see there's half an hour left. So what's going to happen? Is it going to be good? No.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be some boring conceit where, like, basically it's going to be a communication error that drives them apart for a bit so they can argue and then get back together with a romantic scene.
Which is exactly what happens.
Yeah. And I know now I sound like Rebel Wilson in that film that we watched last week, where she was saying, this is what happens in romantic films and it's bad and it's cliched and like nobody watches it to not have those cliches, but you expect it to try, right?
Yeah, and I think this movie, it tries to undermine the romantic comedy in certain ways as well. You know, at times this is quite a crude movie. It nearly has a bridesmaid scene where she shits herself.
Yeah.
It has a scene where he accidentally blows off his finger. It's very raunchy, although the two leads
he accidentally blows off.
It's very raunchy, although between the two leads they're sexless for most of the year.
But then when it goes like kind of down the raunchy humor bit, but only when it's kind of to do with pooing or gross out stuff rather than like the actual sex stuff. And then when they do have sex, it is just like in the cliche romantic comedy where the piano music comes in.
Yeah, there's that perfect lighting coming through the room and everything like that, isn't there?
Yeah.
And
they've just woken up in the morning and it's like as if it wouldn't be like morning breath. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things where and another thing, sorry to be crude ourselves on this, but she literally just pooed herself the night before and he had to shower her off. If she'd taken that much laxative by accident, she was going to be up all night pooing.
Yeah.
That was going to be a smelly room in the morning. I don't think she'd probably be in a state where she wanted to have sex with anybody.
Yeah.
Neither he. I think it would be more likely to be an awkward, well, I'll see you later then, next holiday. But yeah, it's odd, isn't it? And I think I'm a big fan of Friends with Benefits. You know, we both watched that and enjoyed it. It's a fun little rom-com. And what that got perfectly right was the idea of physical attraction and sex being fun. And it felt very natural in that way, although it was these two superstars in that movie. It still felt natural in that way, the way that they were attracted to each other and there was that physical aspect. Whereas here, it's the opposite, where there is none of that, and it feels incredibly odd. It's basically two quite bitter people without that cynicism being backed up by like a physical attraction, and so it just makes it quite unlikable. And I quite like Emma Roberts in this. I think she's got that kind of, you know, whip smart character that she's very good at playing, but without any material to really drive that home. So although she's got the charisma for it, she's not got anything to work with.
Yeah, she is carrying this film, isn't she? It's like completely on her shoulders. So no, I thought it was a good performance, and I thought she was good, but overall, yeah, I agree with you. I had this weird thing where, like, the first time they meet, he says that she's not attractive, and then that's supposed to be this explanation for why they keep on, like, not having sex, even though they're having a great time together, and it just doesn't work. And then when they eventually talk about it, he's like, oh, I just said that because I thought you wouldn't want to go out with me. And it's like, so your explanation for this whole thing, bro, is that you were negging? It's just like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that's true, is that if you neg someone, you're extremely less likely to have sex with them. So I suppose this movie does get that right. But it's really strange, isn't it? It feels very convoluted, very clunky the way that they do it. And it is that kind of rom-com framing mechanism that just, you don't see it in movies anymore. Something this obtuse and silly. But
it's not silly in a good way.
No, it just feels very unrealistic in an era where even the silly rom-coms have at least some element of realism in them.
Yeah, like, isn't it romantic? That was very real.
Yeah, exactly. But at least there was something there for you to get your teeth into, whereas Holidate doesn't have that.
No, it certainly does not have that. What it does have is an Australian negging golf bro.
Yeah, exactly. Which is,
we're supposed to believe he's a professional golfer.
He's a pro golfer. I'm sorry, but he's far too young to be a pro golfer. Although he looks like he's about 40. Not gonna lie, I mean that in a good way. Loose Bracey. I'm very, very tired. Today is my first day.
Tonight I gotta cut loose,
Bracey.
Pick up your golfing, McG, who produced this film.
Oh, McG.
McG. Joseph McGinty Nicol.
But yeah, I mean that in a good way. He looks older than he is. He looks about 40. He's actually only our age.
He's younger than us.
Yeah,
the bastard.
Yeah, like 1 year younger than us.
Yeah.
But he looks very old. But even then, he doesn't look old enough to be a professional golfer. I'm sorry.
No, and he doesn't walk around wearing like those Donald Trump pants that give you a big ass and yellow polo shirts.
Yeah, exactly. It was
and those hats that golfers wear.
Completely unrealistic. But he's a generally quite dislikable character. The first scene with him in is extremely jarring, where he's going for Christmas with his friend, who is using it as an opportunity to go out with him, and so they have sex, and then she turns into a crazy person, which feels really weirdly misogynistic in a way.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, women be like this. No, they don't. I'm sorry.
Bitches be crazy.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing you'd expect from a film like Road Trip.
Yeah.
What decade is this?
I mean, yeah, what's that first scene trying to say? It's saying women will trap you with sex and then change you into a neutered family man. And it's like, that is such a weird, outdated concept for a film.
And give you a Christmas jumper.
It's very, very strange. And that's the first scene you're introduced to with him in it. And I know that that's mainly the fault of sort of the script, that's how he's framed. But I still think, yeah, no, this guy's an arsehole. This sounds like the story that an arsehole would tell to his mates, which never actually happened, you know?
In the bar at the golf club.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
Where this definitely professional golfer is hitting a lot of golf balls off of a tee.
And then throughout the movie, he's cynical and snide, and he does more nice things than Emma Roberts' character does. Like, he comes in when she's in the chocolate shop, when she sees her ex with his new girlfriend, and is nice. Then he showers her when she shat herself, and by the end of the movie, he's the more sympathetic character in a way. He's got more of a heart to him than you initially thought, but I think it's really hard to shake those first impressions in a film like this. So it is hard. But can I just point out the worst character in this movie, though, because it's not Jackson, golf bro. It's not Sloane, cynical chocolate eater. It is instead
Slow.
It's instead Liz, the fiance of Emma Roberts' brother, who is the epitome of wet milk in cinema.
I'm trying to remember her, because there are a lot of the kind of characters who got more screen time than they deserved, but were still irritatingly superfluous, including her and the other sister whose whole thing was, I've got children, but I want to go out. My husband's a saint. Oh no, I kissed the Black Panther.
I kissed the Black Panther.
Boring.
Oh,
your life changes when you have kids.
This is never going to be resolved, that I kissed this guy.
Yeah, this is just going to happen, and then I'm never going to be in the film again.
Yeah.
What the fuck was going on there?
That was almost Wizoian, wasn't it? That it got.
It was, yeah. But it's a thing that I always complain about as a parent, is that parenthood is often portrayed in the background of these kind of films as a thing that like ruins your life, or is used as the butt of a joke, or it's like this kind of thing that is so distant from the main character, almost to kind of make them look more fucked up than they are, because they're not having a kid at this age or whatever, but you don't want them to be like the sister who has a kid because she's unhappy for whatever reason, but it's never really does anything other than to kind of try and fail to frame the main character in a particular light, and I think it's just lazy and boring.
Oh yeah, no, it is incredibly lazy and boring. And the whole scene it's the Thanksgiving meal where her husband finds out that she kissed the Black Panther, and he's like, "You went to a party without me. I trusted you," and said, "I just want to have fun, and you love looking after the kids." And he goes, "Well, one of us has to look after the kids." And then the guy has a heart attack, and that whole scene,
and that literally ends the scene.
That whole scene was just perfect Tommy Wiseau nonsense, wasn't it? Because that's it. That's the end, and nothing in that scene is resolved. The guy has a heart attack. It never gets seen again. They're sitting in the hospital waiting room. And
the old guy, he looks a bit like John Roderick.
Yeah, and then I think you see him at the end, don't you, where it's suggested that him and the mother might be a couple, I think, at the end. But it's like, it was such a superfluous nonsense scene. But Liz, I hate Liz. I hate Liz so much.
What did she do to you?
She burned down my house and killed my dog. That's what
Fair enough. Yeah.
So nothing against Cynthia Wu.
Should have sent your dog to the hotel for dogs.
Exactly. Nothing against Cynthia Wu, who played Liz. She's also in American Vandal, which is amazing. I don't know if you've seen American Vandal.
No, I've heard good things about that.
It is very, very funny. Nothing against her whatsoever, but her character in this is awful, awful, awful. She is just like the most uptight, milquetoast, wet milk nonsense character I've seen in a very long time, where she comes in and is like, "Oh, I can't smoke pot. I'm a wife now." It's like, what?
Yeah. that scene, the way she was written in that scene was terrible.
I've got the munchies now. I've smoked pot for the first time. I can't sit next to this man with pot because he looks old. Oh no. And she's just the most boring, fun destroying person I've seen in a film in a very long time. And she also invited Sloane's ex and his pregnant girlfriend to her Halloween party.
Yeah, it's like does she even know them?
Why would you do that? You know. So she is not only boring and awful, but also just a terrible human being, and we don't like you, Liz. I want to see.
And again, they're to kind of serve a purpose that's just to sort of frame the main character, isn't it? But just in a lazy way. Oh, this person's getting married, which you're not doing. They must be uptight and boring.
But more than that, it's not even thinking about it that far ahead. It's this person's marrying. Oh, your younger brother's getting married after knowing this person for 3 months. Why are you?
Your younger brother, whose name is York. No one's called York as a first name. At first, I thought it was Yorick, and that they were just American and kind of rolling it together. You know, like alas, poor Yorick. I thought it was like that, but nope, it's York.
No
one's called fucking York. Fuck you.
And so yeah, but I don't think it goes as far as thinking, oh, if you get married, you're boring. I think that's giving this movie far too much credit for even going that far. It is simply, you're marrying my brother. You've known him 3 months. Oh no, I'm the outcast here because I'm not married yet. And then it plays up the whole, you don't know me. We've only been together for 3 months. And then that comes up all the once in the...
Yeah. And again, what purpose does that serve?
And then just...
Is it supposed to be, oh, you have to know someone in the long term before you get together with them and marry them or whatever? But then that's nothing to do with the main story at all.
No. Because thinking about it this way, they've probably spent more time together within those 3 months before they get together and get married than Emma Roberts and Luke Bracey have over the course of their entire year, because they've only spent like 5 days together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes no sense. This movie is not very good. And
5 days quite far apart as well.
Yeah, and I feel bad for saying that this movie's not very good, because like I said, I think the performances in it, they're all trying very hard, but there are structural problems with this movie, and almost the entire concept of this film would be hard to accomplish anyway. I think it would have been better if...
I feel like this has been done, though, the concept. I think it's not a bad concept. I feel like either we've watched a film or I've seen a film where someone's like, says they will only date someone for the holiday season and then falls in love with them. I've seen that somewhere on film, and I'm struggling to remember where.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I've seen something similar as well. That's in another rom-com. But the specific, I will only see you as a platonic date for one night for each of these holidays. I think just it's very hard to pull that off, and I think it almost would have been better if they did accidentally sleep together on the first one, or something like that, where at least then you can say,
instead of the neg thing.
Yeah, at least then there's something more like, okay, I can see that there's something going on here, because instead it's just a couple of sassy friends. And equally, neither of them has friends, really. You know, other friends outside of their family or their golf friend, Black Panther.
Yeah.
Which is really
Who
weird.
isn't real. The Black Panther wouldn't golf.
No, exactly. He's far too cool to golf. But it's weird, isn't it, that there's no friends at any point in this movie. There's literally just family, and that's it. And you'd have thought in a film like this, it would really work well around like a group of friends or something to bounce this idea off. But it just doesn't happen. It's really odd, a very strange decision.
Yeah. You know, and you probably could have had more fun with kind of a group of friends rather than all their sort of boring, irritating family members and their associated partners, right?
Oh, yeah, well, definitely.
You know, if you've got Kristen Chenoweth, a great talent, if you've got her in a film, instead of making her an aunt, maybe she's like a zany co-worker or something, you know?
Well, yeah, that's exactly how this could have worked. And it maybe would have added a more, you know, adult sensibility to it as well. If it's a friendship group and then she's like the co-worker or the boss or something like that. And then you almost could have played off the idea of, you know, Emma Roberts' character wants to impress her boss by saying, you know what, I don't need to rush into a relationship, just like you don't rush into a relationship, and I'll try out this Holidate idea that you've got. But instead she sort of takes on this notion almost out of nowhere when it doesn't, you know, what's more awkward than spending a holiday alone with your family would be doing it, but with a complete stranger, I imagine, would probably make it even more awkward, which is what this movie is. It's okay.
Yeah.
And do you think this would happen if the guy wasn't an attractive Australian man with a handsome beard?
An attractive Australian golfer who's quite confident and has nowhere else to be. This would never happen in Britain, would it?
Like, imagine if it was...
You wouldn't go to someone's house to meet their family. Can you imagine that in the UK?
just hold on. I've got. Imagine if Emma Roberts was there trying to return her pajamas, and next to her.
See, this is the meet cute. I actually enjoyed that scene.
Next to her,
go on, we'll talk about that.
Next to her was Nigel Farage returning some trousers that he got, saying
some golf pants.
Yeah, saying, "Oh, I got these, and they're not even for me. You know what we should do? We should go on holiday days together." Do you think she'd turn around and go, yeah, we can do that?
I can't wear these because they were made in Germany, and that's in Europe. Even though my wife is German, I can't buy them.
Oh, exactly. So if it was like a 50-year-old man who looks like Baron Silas von Greenback from Danger Mouse, do you think she would say yes? Of course she wouldn't, but because it's a handsome Australian man with a good beard, she says yes. So why do we not establish at that point that there is this physical attraction, and why don't they sleep together on the first holiday by accident?
Yeah, you have absolutely identified the root of the problem with this whole film and the reason it doesn't work there.
Yeah, the reason why they go out together is that they both find each other attractive. You know, you wouldn't do this if you didn't find the other person attractive in some way.
That's not to say that, you can't have a platonic attraction, because of course you can. But in this kind of film, it's beyond the realm of possibility. You know that they're going to fuck eventually. So really, it's like, what's the obstacle to this? Oh, it's that he's a weird negger. Okay.
Yeah, and if you wanted to do it with a platonic route, it should have been a long-term friend that they'd known for several years but never thought about in that way. But then over the course of the year, as they become their holidate, they realise, oh wait, this is more than just friendship. And if you wanted to do the slow burn, that's how you could have done it. And then that way you could also have established them talking to each other outside of the holidates.
That would have worked so much better. That, combined with the friendship group thing, that this film is writing itself in my head already. It's where everyone's got dates. She hasn't. She's going, oh, but what about... She's talking to her friends. They're like, oh, what about this guy? He always liked you back in college or whatever. And she's like, yeah, we're just friends. We talk occasionally, whatever. Like, why don't you ask him? And then that's kind of how it happens, and it's a slow burn. And, maybe you can insert some poo jokes in there if you want, and it would still work. Maybe someone can lose a finger or a limb if you really have to. But
well, I think that would even work better if you did have those elements, because if you have that platonic friendship, if you have that long-term platonic friendship, maybe he's more likely to shower shit off you after a party.
Yeah, exactly.
And just say, oh, this is what we used to do back in college. Don't worry about it. That kind of thing.
Remember that? Remember the good old days.
And equally, the scene where he is hanging out with the boys of the family and accidentally blows his finger off. That's another element of actually, oh, well, he fits in quite well with my family dynamic. So you've got that to build on, and you could build that case over time for it to be not just a physical attraction, but a romantic attraction beyond the initial platonic point.
And that would actually make that would cut through the awkwardness of the family thing, because maybe the family already know him because he's been around them before, because he's a close friend from college.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That and the whole concept could be, I'm sick of being alone on my holidays with my family. At least I could have a friend with me. Hey, why don't we do this?
I may actually try and write this.
I think we should. Holidate 2, this time we get it right.
Starring Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage and Caroline Lucas.
Yeah. Oh my God.
As the pair. Yeah.
That would be incredible.
But no, this could the idea that we've just talked through here could work incredibly well as a movie. But the issue is with this film is that it completely ignored how to make its concept work. Because these kind of concepts, you need that proper framework around them, and this movie's framework does not fit with the concept that it's come up with.
Yeah, That's exactly right. There's that tension there between what it wants you to think it is and what it actually is, which is a series of vulgar gags strewn together by a few scenes of holiday parties. There's a lot of party scenes.
There are an awful lot of party scenes.
They think that's what people like because people like parties, but actually right now you can't party, so it's kind of a slap in the face, really, isn't it?
It is. It's just saying, hey, look at what we used to be able to do, you losers. Now you're stuck
Remember
inside
this,
all the time.
You hogs.
Remember parties. But there are moments of this movie that I like. I enjoy the guy's finger being blown off and then the bad finger jokes afterwards. That's great.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy the nearly shitting yourself scene when the doors open and she's there trying to get him to take off the corset. Okay, that's a funny little light-hearted gag. At the end, when the choir at Christmas all turn around and sing Jackson at him, that was very, very good as well. I think that was an excellent little joke. So there's these nuggets in there that work well. But
I like that she calls him Crocodile Dundee the first time she meets him.
Yes, and I think maybe they should have carried that over with other Australia references over the course of the movie as well.
I did think that the scene where they meet the meet cute, I did think that was good. It just didn't really build on it in the proper way. As soon as it got to the you're not attractive bit, that was just like a pfft. But up until that point, it was going well.
It was going well, yeah. And I think, long-standing rom-com, trope is that they meet and they have a bit of a ruffly start to their relationship, where there's lots of sort of little quips back and forth, and they don't like each other, but they mutually agree, okay, yeah, well, whatever, it's cool, let's meet up again. And so I think that all worked really well. I agree with you, but yeah, like you said, they just did not build on that in any significant way.
No. There was one very, very good joke that was so much funnier and more sophisticated than everything in the film that it just kind of ruined it by being too good, which was the Mark Antony joke, where in Halloween the guy they'd gone as Cleopatra and Mark Antony, but he'd gone as Mark Antony the singer.
Yeah, that was very, very good. I agree. That was great. It was... that was.
You must have enjoyed that as well, because Liz got ruined by it. She was the butt of that joke.
Well, yes, indeed. That was even better for me. Was the cherry on top of this shit sandwich that is this film was Liz being humiliated at her own party.
Yeah,
I'm all here for that.
Yeah, it's a shit sandwich, but with some Christmas frosting on it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like like turd polishing.
You can't polish a turd, but you can put a cherry on it.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is.
Can you polish a shit sandwich?
Oh, dear.
It's funny that she's sitting at the kids' table as well, and it's like literally like a tiny kids' table.
Yeah,
the physical comedy of that was quite enjoyable.
That's very funny. And again, that's very good at cementing the family dynamic, as well as she's seen as this child in the eyes of the rest of them. So thematically that fit quite well. So like I said, that kind of introductory scene with her is very, very good. But again, they just can't build on that into anything significant.
That laid really good groundwork for the family dynamic that was never realised, because instead of that, it just ended up with lots of scenes of her mum negging her as well.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And I did enjoy the mum. Frances Fisher puts in a very good Frances Fishery performance.
She was a dick as well, though. It's like every scene, she's like, "Oh, what, my daughter, I love you so much. Why aren't you having sex with that man in the bathroom?"
Yeah, exactly. She's awful in this. It's like she took a look at her character in what's it called, in Titanic, and was just like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this, but even more awful than in that." And just be absolutely horrendous to my daughter in another film, which I'm completely on board with. I think her performance in this was just great as the terrible mother.
Yep, I agree. You know what else this film has that I hate?
What?
You know, what do I hate?
I don't know. Spoiled milk.
Well, yeah, that's one of my worst things. But no, Auld Lang Syne. It's in there because obviously it features a New Year's moment.
Yeah.
And it's a jazzy version, which somehow is even worse.
It's true. That is worse. Their New Year's party does look like my idea of hell. Everyone's dressed up in fancy clothes. There's lots of space everywhere for people to dance. Everything looks incredibly expensive. No, give me none of that shit. Awful.
So you want a cheap room that's really overcrowded and where you can't dance and everyone's wearing awful clothes.
That's
They're
exactly
the worst
right.
clothes that they own.
No, the best New Year's are where it's you and some friends and it's cheap and it's relaxed. And then you party and then you say Happy New Year and then you go home.
And you go to
none
bed.
of this going out and spending £200 on a fucking ticket to a
Jesus
party
Christ.
filled with arseholes that you don't know and that maybe a couple of your friends have managed to get tickets to as well. No, screw that. It's awful.
To then potentially have to get public transport home with the drunkest and the worst, most awful people on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Because New Year's brings out the worst people.
Yeah.
It really does. So
New Year's and St. Patrick's Day, those are like the 2 days that you never want to be out because people just turn into animals.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's
I don't mean like wolves. I mean
No,
like
that would be
worse,
great.
much worse animals.
that would be great.
Pigs, warthogs.
No. Warthogs.
They're worse than warthogs. I'd rather get on a train full of warthogs than a train full of the kind of assholes who are on the train after New Year's Eve at 4 a.m. I'm
Yeah.
glad I have a child and I don't go out now. And also, there's a pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. So this movie did not have very good reviews, unsurprisingly. So the Metascore from Metacritic is 44 out of 100, so approximately 4 out of 10.
Sounds about right.
So here's just a few sound bites. So the AV Club gave it a relatively good score, but still said, much like so much of Netflix's quality over quantity output, quantity over quality output, Holidate is broad, unsubtle, and seemingly designed to be half-watched phone in hand.
That's exactly right.
That's one of the better reviews. In fact, that's the second best review this movie got. But there's so a few other ones here. So the Hollywood Reporter referred to it as a fun conceit trapped in a broad and retrograde flick.
Fair.
Which is fair. Chicago Sun-Times, an excruciatingly cheesy, hopelessly dated, profoundly unfunny and tone-deaf romantic comedy about an intelligent, hardworking and likeable, lovely young woman.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is fair enough again. And then my favourite two here. So the New York Times, far worse than these characters' grating personalities are the regressive strains underpinning their flirtation. And RogerEbert.com, Holidate is a reminder of how easy it is to get every aspect of a romantic comedy wrong.
That's not the real Roger Ebert, of course, because he's
No.
dead. But I'm glad that they're still talking about films in his name.
Yes, yeah, and I think that is a brutal little quip there about this movie.
That AV Club thing is actually very, very interesting that it says that it's supposed to be half-watched with your phone in your hand.
Yeah.
I think that really hints at a much bigger problem with filmmaking and with culture in general, that people don't sit down and experience anything on its own anymore. And that actually now people are making films fully aware of that and not trying. And that film absolutely does suffer from that.
Yeah, and this falls into the wider problem with Netflix's rom-com output, which is that it's trying to do things that call back to what you watched when you were younger without doing anything exciting and new, because they know that they can put out something that's comforting and that's old-fashioned, and people will say, hey, this is fine, this is like X.
Yeah.
And that's wrong, because their best movies are things like To All the Boys I Loved Before, which feel fresh in certain ways, you know. So putting something out there that is so tame, because this is a tame movie, in spite of its more crude scenes, there's nothing here that's not been done before better elsewhere.
Do you think often the better ones are based on books?
No, because books are for nerds.
Well, yeah, obviously, but To All the Nerds I Loved Before was based on a book. So
It was based on a book, but so was I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and that movie was pretty.
That was a movie.
So yeah, so I think it's more just that it's just tired ideas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is what it is. It's tired ideas being regurgitated out by a system which can't afford to take risks.
No, they can't.
And you look at, and this is the wider problem with cinema in general. You look at the top grossing movies of any given year, and it's all fucking sequels and remakes. Like
Marvel
it's mainly fucking Marvel movies over and over and over again. You look at Warner Brothers and HBO pumping fucking millions, tens of millions of dollars into a new cut of Justice League with Zack Snyder because that's what the fans want.
A new cut?
Yeah, so
are they releasing the butthole cut?
They're releasing
Is that what's happening?
No, so Zack Snyder, because of the
Snyder?
the tragedies in his personal life, he could not complete Justice League. So the reins were handed over to Joss Whedon, who fucked it up,
right.
basically. And fans of the previous movies in the DC universe weren't happy with the end result. It did moderately well, but not great. And for a long time, there was this talk about, oh, well, when are we going to see Zack Snyder's cut of this movie? Surely it exists. And it's one of those things where it kind of exists, but not really, because lots of it was unfinished and things like that. So after a lot of fan pressure, they said, okay, well, we're going to put some extra money into it, and we're going to allow Zack Snyder to finish making his movie, which I think is a commendable thing to do. However, the sheer amount of money that's gone into this movie that already exists.
So are they reshooting?
So they've reshot some of it, and used old footage that was cut from the original. But I think it's at $70 million extra that's gone into this re-release. And you just think that could have made so many good movies.
You don't know the budget of these Netflix films. They don't release it. But Holidate, that can't have cost more than, what, 10 million?
Yeah, I think, I think it would have... Emma Roberts probably costed a little bit to get her in.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I don't see it costing a lot of money to make. But then, yeah, you look at how much money is going into these movies that are pretty tame. I think, the main issue is the Marvel movies are all very, very tame, and they're the ones that make the most money, and that's what the rest of the system wants to emulate. And even within sort of the realms of horror, I really love the Blumhouse horror movies. But they are still making the most out of tiny, tiny budgets. They cost so little to make, and they basically say, okay, well, with this tiny budget, we'll make something that's going to pack a punch. But they still don't get the same amount of money as other genres do, even though they're continually successful. And you just think, fuck's sake, outside of like A24, who's taking these risks and making weird movies? And I know that Netflix
I was about to say the best example of this is A24.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you think like, okay, sometimes Netflix takes risks. I'm thinking of Ending Things. As much as I disliked it, I'm glad that it exists because it's a very strange movie.
Yeah.
And I wish we had more of that kind of thing. You don't see the big companies taking those risks anymore, and I think that's a real problem. And I don't see it getting any better with time, particularly with COVID and all of the money that's been lost to the industry through the pandemic. I really don't see a way back into making adventurous films anymore.
No, I don't either. It's a worry. Can I tell you the thing that would have saved this film, though?
What?
Is if they've managed to get Ryan Gosling to be in it and to play himself.
I mean, that would have been very, very good. Or if he was just there in the background in that scene where they're talking about him doing the shot.
Well, there's a theory that he is. Have you seen this?
Yeah, he's not, though.
Yeah, he's not. It's just it's a shadow of a guy who you could argue looks like anyone.
Yeah, it's just a guy.
Yeah. No, what I wanted and what I was really hoping would happen in that scene was come on, please happen, was in Always Be My Maybe, when Keanu Reeves plays himself and he walks into the restaurant and then the music starts and it's like bo ba 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 ba, and he's got his hands up. I was hoping there'd be a scene like that with Ryan Gosling. Oh,
that would have been good. Yeah, that was Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Which, interestingly enough, a through road between the two. Dan the Automator did the music to Always Be My Maybe.
He did.
And he also did the music to Holidate.
The music was good, actually. I wrote that down. Yeah. It was, the kind of ever-present cheeky music, which is on point, trying to give it that kind of like, so saying, this is a cheeky film. It's a little bit vulgar, but you like it.
Yeah, you know why that is? It's because Dan the Automator is really good.
Yeah. Can't fault him, can you?
Yeah, we love you, Dan the Automator, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're listening to this podcast, but he's
he listens
amazing.
Every week.
Dan the Automator is brilliant. Is underrated, wonderful, and well done on the one consistently good bit of this film.
Yeah. Man, he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
He produced the the album by Corner Shop that had Brimful of Asher on it.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
The first Gorillaz album as well was him.
Amazing.
Very, very talented. But yeah, alas, unfortunately, the rest of the movie did not live up to Dan the Automator's standards.
Unfortunately not.
But Emma Roberts, there's this movie that comes up that looks really bad with her in, which I think we've talked about before, Little Italy, where it's her
with Hayden Christensen.
And it's rival pizzeria families or something.
Which genuinely sounds like a bullshit film that we would make up.
It really does, doesn't it?
This is some wizard cop level of bullshit.
Which I think we really need to watch that soon. Because like I said, I like Emma Roberts and I like bullshit rom-coms that are stupid. So...
Holy crap, it's set in Toronto. I think we need to do this.
Okay, we should.
I had an idea for what we were going to watch next, but I think this maybe needs to move up the list.
Really? So speaking of, is there anything else you want to say about Holidate?
Nah. I think we've covered it. I don't know that it's worth watching, really, is it? As you say, there's lots of better and more interesting stuff out there for you to watch at the moment, really. You know, often with these kind of Netflix films, we say, well, stick it on at a lazy moment when you're having a cup of tea or whatever. But even then, I'd be reluctant. Maybe, as you say, if you know you're going to be sitting there just dicking around on your phone instead, then it's fine. But
yeah, exactly. It is. If you're doing something else, put this on in the background.
And to be fair, I was deep cleaning the kitchen while I was watching this.
Oh, how dare you! But yeah, it's not great, is it? It's not great.
No.
So I would say trivia, but there's not really any trivia for this movie. So shall we move on to scoring?
Sure. I thought you were going to say something like the golf man did his own golf scenes, or
he did his own golf off screen. So how many holidates would you go on before you accidentally shit yourself?
Ooh, that's good. That's spicy. I like it. Let's say 8 out of a potential 20 holidates.
Yeah, I'm going to match you on that as well with 8. This is, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it is not worth getting a Bon Jovi on this one. It is not halfway there. So yeah, 8 I think is fair.
Yeah, and 3 of those points are for the Mark Antony joke,
which is a very good joke. To be fair to the movie, that is a funny joke.
There's a different poster for Little Italy. We're doing Little Italy next, by the way. I'm making that executive decision. The poster that comes up now is different to the one that used to come up in the Google search. The one that comes up now is kind of looks okay in a nice font, but the old poster that used to come up, I think I have to show it to you. Hang on, I'm going to share my screen. Because Hayden Christensen looks about 45 years old in it. You might have seen it before.
I think I've seen the original one, yeah, but show it to me. Show it to me again.
You can present a Chrome tab.
Yeah, that's the one where he's wearing that really baggy T-shirt.
It says Vince's Pizza, and he looks like Vince Vaughn. I don't know if that's intentional.
It should have. It was originally going to be Vince Vaughn in the role.
Yeah.
That is. Oh God. I'm so excited to finally watch this potential shit piece.
I am actually quite stoked to watch this. I think it does look like a potential shit piece, doesn't it?
I'm excited for this nonsense. Bring it on.
I'm really stoked.
Excellent. Excellent.
Oh, we do have fun, don't we?
We do. Yeah.
But yeah, the holidays are coming. It'll be upon us soon. So, it'll be a Christmas Prince 4, which actually doesn't exist. Sadly, we'll find some other.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that comes up.
But yeah, a couple more other weeks of random nonsense before we get there. But it's okay to listen to Christmas songs now if you want, as we said last week.
Yes, yeah, get on it. It's been a bad year. If you want to embrace Christmas, just do it.
Yeah, do it. Enjoy your holidays. Happy holidays, one and all.
Yes, yeah, and enjoy your time in the holiday season.
Yeah. And if you do have a holiday, we won't judge you.
No. I'll be asking why it's not one of us, but apart from that.
Well, yeah, obviously. If you want to get in touch with us and tell us why it's not one of us, you can find us on Twitter at BigBoysDon'tPod. You can email us bigboysdon'tcrypodcast@gmail.com. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, would you do a holiday? Which holiday would be your favourite? Would you like to spend Father's Day with someone? What about Labour Day? Or what other ones are there? What other good holidays?
Love Day.
St. George's Day.
St. George's Day. Now that would be one from starring Nigel Farage. Oh God, can you imagine? It's a good job Gary Marshall's dead, so he can't make that film. St. George's Day.
Oh dear. Oh.
That'd be the worst film ever.
It would. Let's make it.
We'll do it. Stars Nigel Farage and a whole revolving door cast of every British actor ever is in it somewhere.
Yeah, they all date Nigel Farage for 5 minutes on St. George's Day.
Yeah, it's like speed dating in a pub with Nigel Farage.
You've got to slay the dragon of my unrequited love.
There's unrequited love for a pint and some racism, those staples of British culture.
Exactly. Oh dear.
Well, that's a very, very good idea. We've got some good ideas out of this one.
Oh yeah, we do.
And definitely less weird than our fruit romance one from last week. Or was it the week before? I don't even know what week it is anymore.
Isn't it Romango? That's what it is.
Isn't it Romango? That's the one. It was only last week. All right. Oh. Well, there we go. Thank you a lot for listening. We really, really do hope that you enjoy what we do and that you like the show and that it, helps you in these strange times. We do it for you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And we'll be back next week to talk about Little Italy.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Holidays are coming. 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 'Tis the season. Watch out. Holidays are